Today we will be working on solving equations with fractions in them. We will be using a strategy in which you eliminate the fractions so that you don't really have to work with them by multiplying all terms in the equation by a common denominator. After you've done that, you reduce the fractions and then you simply have integers. Then you can solve the equation using inverse operations like a normal two-step or multi-step equation. Let's start with the first one. First, I would look at the denominators. And I have a 2, a 4, and a 2. I'm going to choose a common multiple of them. And so I'm going to choose to multiply the whole equation by 4 over 1. Because I know 2, 4, and 2 can all multiply to be 4. Then I need to distribute this 4 in the numerator times each numerator of the fractions inside. And I need to distribute the denominator 1 times each denominator inside parentheses. So now I'll have 4 times 5, which is 20, and 1 times 2, which is 2, and I keep the negative sign. Then I have 4 times 5 again, which is 20, and 1 times 4, which is 4. I keep the plus sign between them. I also have to include the variable n by each of these. So each of these has an n. And then I put my equal sign. 4 times 1, 4. Can't forget there's a negative next to this fraction. And 1 times 2, which is 2. So far I still have fractions, but all of these fractions can be reduced by dividing, and then they will simply be integers. 20 divided by 2 is 10. It's going to stay negative because there's a negative here, and the n stays next to it. Plus 20 divided by 4 is 5, and I keep the n variable. And negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Now I have all regular integers in my equation, and I can continue solving. I'm going to combine these terms because they both have an n, so they are like terms. A negative 10 plus 5 equals negative 5n. And it's all equal to negative 2. My last step is to divide by the number that is still with my variable so that I can cancel it out. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. I now have n equals, and my answer is basically negative 2 over negative 5. Since a negative divided by a negative equals a positive, my final answer will just be 2/5. And I could leave it like that. It is okay to have a fraction as an answer. Let's try the next one. Again, I'm going to put everything in parentheses, and I'm going to choose a common multiple of my two denominators. I have a 3 and a 9, so a common multiple of them would be 9. So I'm going to multiply by 9 over 1. Again, I'm going to multiply 9 times each numerator. That includes this number 2. 2 is still, technically could be a fraction by putting it over 1. So I'm going to multiply 1 by each denominator, and then I will have my fractions that I can reduce. Let's start with 9 times this 5 is 45, and 1 times 3 is 3. There's a negative in front of this, so it's still a negative, and there is an r variable. Next, I'll put this subtraction sign. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 times 1 is 1. I need to keep the r that is with that. 9 times 11 is 99. Keep the negative that is with it, and 1 times 9 is 9. Now we reduce the fractions. 45 divided by 3 is 15. Keep the negative and the r. 18 divided by 1 is just 18 with an r. And negative 99 divided by 9 is negative 11. These are like terms, so I can combine them. I have a negative and I'm taking away more, so I'm really going to, in a way, add that up to be a even lesser negative, so it will be negative 33, and then I still have negative 11. My last step is that I'm going to divide both sides by negative 33 because that is the coefficient by the r. And then my final answer will be r equals, again, I have a double negative, so a negative divided by negative becomes a positive. And 11 divided by 33, if I divide each of those and reduce by a common multiple like 11, I simply get 1 over 3. So my final answer will be 1/3. Again, it is a fraction answer, but that is totally okay. We're going to move on to this slide. I would like you to try these two practice problems. Do the work just like the steps we did in the problems on the previous slide. Pause the video now as you're doing your work in your math notebook. When you're ready to check your answers, unpause the video and you can see how these answers get worked out. Welcome back. We're now going to go over the answers for these two problems so that you can check your work. A common multiple of 5, 2, and 10 is 10. So we're going to multiply everything by 10 over 1. We're going to do 10 times 9, which is 90, and 1 times 5, which is 5. And we're going to keep the b with it. We're going to do 10 times 3, which is 30, and 1 times 2, which is 2. There's a plus sign between them and a b afterwards. And lastly, we're going to do 10 times this negative 33, and we'll have negative 330. And we're going to do 1 times 10, and that will be 10. Now we're going to divide and reduce each fraction. 90 divided by 5 is 18. Keep the b. 30 divided by 2 is 15. Keep the b. And negative 330 divided by 10, you can cancel off those zeros, is just negative 33. Now we can solve this equation. We have two like terms, so we'll add them up and we'll get 33b equals negative 33. We divide each side by 33. And our final answer is b equals negative 33 divided by 3 is 1. Let's try the next one. Check your work. A common multiple of 4 and 6 is 12. You may have also used the number 24 and had slightly different answers, but I'm going to use 12 because it's a smaller number, so it will maybe be a little bit easier to multiply by. 12 times 1 is 12. I have to keep this negative with that. 1 times 4 is 4, and the variable n. 12 times this, you might need to put a 1 here to remember that this is a negative 1 over 1. So 12 times negative 1 is actually going to be negative 12n. And then 1 times 1 is going to be 1. Lastly, 12 times negative 5 is going to be negative 60. And my arrows are getting a little overlapped, but 1 times 6 will be 6. Now we'll reduce each fraction. Negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3, keep the n. Negative 12 divided by 1, excuse me, is just negative 12n. And negative 60 divided by 6, that's a 6, is a negative 10. Now we will solve. These are like terms because they both have n. A negative 3 take away 12 more will actually be a negative 15n. And we bring down our negative 10. We'll then divide by negative 15. Cancel it out. Negative 15. A negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive. And we can divide each of these to reduce. And so we can divide by the common factor of 5. 10 divided by 5, that will give us a 2. And 15 divided by 5 will give us 3. So our final answer is 2/3. After doing this video, you can continue to work on other practice activities. Thank you.